I feel like you have to respect the fact that the MonsterVerse is just out there really going for it right now. I mean, where else are you gonna find a monkey rocking an infinity gauntlet teaming up with a radioactive dinosaur? Find me another movie that does that and I'll be first in line. But in the meantime, we have to talk about Godzilla Kong, the New Empire. What's up, guys? I'm Sully, and today we're talking about the brand new entry in the MonsterVerse franchise, Godzilla Kong, the New Empire. All you need to know about this one is that the story goes like this. Following their explosive showdown, Godzilla and Kong must reunite against a colossal, undiscovered threat hidden within our world, challenging their very existence and our own. So overall, I'm definitely a fan of the MonsterVerse franchise. I feel like there's a certain point for everyone where you kind of have to consciously open up your mind to what they're going for, because they've obviously been getting more and more ridiculous over time. And if you're able to do that, it's hard not to have an absolute blast with them. I usually favor the entries that are more grounded and realistic as you can be when dealing with something like a monkey the size of a skyscraper. And because of that, Kong Skull Island is the crown jewel of the series as far as I'm concerned, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't get top tier entertainment out of Godzilla vs. Kong a few years back. Has the franchise pretty much turned into a big budget movie version of Super Smash Bros. At this point? Kind of. Is that necessarily a bad thing? I'm gonna go with no, but I do think this one actually takes a little bit of a step in the wrong direction compared to the previous testosterone-filled turf war we got to witness. Now, I feel like this one was positioned to us as a buddy cop film starring these two legendary beasts, and I definitely think there are moments in here where that's an accurate description, but at the end of the day, this is definitely a King Kong movie. The story is centered around him, he has the most screen time, and he has the most to do. Being a huge Kong guy, I had no problem with that. Are you kidding me? That's a dream come true. But if you're expecting him and Godzilla to be sharing the limelight and fist bumping each other for the duration of this movie, you might end up leaving this one a little bit disappointed. I've always thought Kong is a lot more accessible narratively in the first place when it comes to the MonsterVerse because it's much easier to humanize him. They decided to give him his own version of Baby Yoda in Zuko, and it fits well with his character. But I think the problem with the Titans this time around is actually that the villains were pretty weak. Scar King comes into the fold a little too late in the game and doesn't come off as all that menacing, and Shimo is just kind of along for the ride. Now, don't get me wrong, the actual fight sequences gave me everything I wanted out of them. But for these movies to offer up a complete and satisfying experience in my eyes, the stakes need to be properly set. The previous film figured out how to do that, and I just don't think they pulled it off with this new entry. Changing gears for a second though, one thing I was not expecting from this film was the amount of time I was left legitimately shocked by the level of visual storytelling they were able to include in some parts of this movie. There are some scenes where it's just monsters interacting with one another and there's not a single line of dialogue for maybe 10 minutes straight. All of the grunting and the body language tells you everything you need to know, and you're quickly able to decipher what kind of conversation is going on in front of you. I don't know if a MonsterVerse movie that's completely gotten rid of the human characters altogether is even possible, or if it would get stale after a certain percentage of its runtime, but those moments in this film really impressed me and makes me think that they could do it. Because let's face it, the human characters are always derailing some of the fun in these films. I like the cast this time around. Rebecca Hall, Brian Tyree Henry, and Dan Stevens have all proven themselves in the past, and Kaylee Hoddle brings that connection to Kong. They have some fun banter and are obviously around to provide some exposition mumbo jumbo so that the plot seems like it makes a bit more sense, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter who plays these roles, because unfortunately, they're just taking away precious screen time from what we really want to see in the first place. These two behemoths absolutely slapping the shit out of each other. And when the movie reduces itself to just doing that, it's very entertaining and you get exactly what you paid for. The visuals here are incredible like they usually are in this franchise, and watching these two legends team up is always an event. I just wish that they would finally double down on the stuff we know works here and sideline some of the aspects that seem to always take away from these films. A guy can dream, right? Overall, I think if you're a fan of the MonsterVerse, you'll get pretty much what you're expecting out of Godzilla Kong, the New Empire. I wish it spent even more time with our title characters together, found a way to up the stakes further, and kept all of the unnecessary fluff out of the plot. But it's hard not to be fully on board with the all-out kaiju craziness you're seeing on screen during the moments when it's really firing on all cylinders. If you're on the fence about these monster team-up movies, I don't think this is going to be the entry that wins you over, but if you you love this kind of stuff, it's definitely worth checking out on the biggest screen possible. Godzilla Kong, the New Empire gets a Sully score of 3 stars. So that's my review of the new MonsterVerse movie. What do you think is the best film ever released in the franchise? I'm coming out with my own ranking tomorrow, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys at the next one.